You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks so much for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Join the Cookie Gang, become an everydayer. That means subscribing, tuning in every day, Monday through Friday, and signing up to the Locked On Heat text line with the link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 of bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com today to get started. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. Recording this after the Heat blow out the Clippers, 140-123. We're going to get to some credit cookies here in a second, plus our listener questions here later on in the show. But the Heat make a season-high 24 three-pointers in this game. Most of those coming in that second quarter eruption, David. This was just a Heat offense that was on a roll with a lot of shooters who were getting a lot of shots to go down against the Clippers defense that just kind of kept allowing them to take those shots. The Heat are not a volume three-point shooting team, as we know this season. They do most of their work getting downhill in transition, getting into the paint, getting to the rim. But they showed in this game, David, that if you give them a lot of threes, they will take them and they will make them.
I think that was what really came across the most to me, was that this is a Heat team that understood how vulnerable the Clippers were and didn't shy away from taking advantage of those opportunities. They started off with a great intensity. Andrew Wiggins and Adebayo leading them in the first quarter, and then throughout the course of the game, there were a lot of runs from the Clippers. So credit to them, despite the fact that at one point, they were getting blown out really, but they did make a comeback late in the fourth quarter. Earlier in the game, they were making some runs to try and keep pace with Miami, but the Heat still found a way to take those opportunities and really cash in on some three-point opportunities. I mean, they were phenomenal. Their offense was flowing. They were great. They were just confident. Bam Adebayo looked incredible. Norm Powell carried the team late. Andrew Wiggins was consistent. Everybody really had an opportunity to score in a high volume, and the Clippers defense just kind of fell apart. And Ty Lue, the Clippers head coach, sending a message to the team by benching the starters in the third quarter. Was it? It was very. You know what? They look like they're a team that's ready to kind of just take a break and call it the season.
Yeah, I mean, this is their fifth straight loss, right? And this is a team that kind of has looked like they've wanted to pack it in basically since the start of the season. This is like they won 50 games last year. They were one of the winners of the offseason with some of the additions they made, and then the whole Kawhi Leonard scandal and whatever, and it just feels like whatever team Bradley Beal goes to, the vibes just go through the basement, and that's the Clippers' problem, right? But back to the three-point shooting part of this, again, it was kind of strange to me that the Clippers never really adjusted to the Heat in this game. So first play of the game, first Heat possession, Bam just pulls up for a three-pointer against Zubac. Zubac he's a very good rim protecting center and a very good rebounder, and he's very sturdy. What he isn't is somebody who's going to get out and defend on the perimeter very much. And the Heat attacked that on the first possession of the game. They had scouted it. They knew it. They said, Bam, this is going to be open for you. And if you could space Zubac out, that's going to open up the rest of our offense for us to probably get to the rim and all these things. The Clippers are like, we don't care if you make a million three-pointers. We're still going to plant Zubac in the paint. And the Heat were just like, okay, bet, I guess. And we'll just keep taking these threes every time. This wasn't typical pick and roll, so you can't really call it a drop defense that Zubac was playing, because drop is typically on that pick and roll instead of two on the ball or anything like that. You have that center drop into the paint and kind of guard against that dribble penetration. And obviously the Heat don't run pick and roll. They just run these isolations. So the Heat were just passing it to whoever Zubac was closest to and kind of daring Zoo to step up. And over again, Zoo dropped back on defense. And Heat shooters just stepped into wide open pull-up threes over and over again, to the point where Bam, who was Zoo's primary assignment, had 5 3-pointers in this game, 5 of 8. But then you saw Norm Powell attack Zubac. He goes 6 of 10. Andrew Wiggins made 2 3-pointers. Herro made 4. Davion Mitchell made 4 of his 4 3-point attempts. Again, a lot of those coming up against Zoo. I was sort of flabbergasted, David, that the Clippers never made that adjustment, but I was really impressed with the Heat for just continuing to pick on this guy who's a strong defensive player overall, but obviously can't do this, and they took advantage.
What do you think? Was it based on Zubac just in being a drop, or Harden and his lack of perimeter defense as well? I think like they were trying to send a message,
Yes.
or at least Lou was trying to send a message with Harden. And we did really nice. So I know that's a bit of a problem, but you know what? That's enough about the Clippers, to be honest with you. This is you want to go listen to analysis about the Clippers, go check them out on Locked On Clippers. But for us, though, it was just Miami. What really was a game that in the past I don't think I would have felt as comfortable with Miami being able to take advantage of those opportunities. But credit to this year's group having the confidence and the shooting ability to just hit three after three and the willingness to take those. In the past, it would have been more, they wouldn't have taken those shots. Just the way the roster was constructed, they just wouldn't have been able to do so. It would have been more, based on Jimmy Butler attacking the paint or drawing fouls and things of that sort. Maybe they would have built a lead, but with the way the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard were able to mount a comeback later on, it probably would have felt a little bit more tenuous. This one didn't really ever feel like it was all that close because Miami had that potent shooting going and the shooters to kind of make it happen, as you pointed out. Everybody in the starting lineup really dialed in and making the Clippers pay for what they did defensively.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that, right? Because the Jimmy Butler era teams, they have guys like Duncan Robinson and Max Strus, but it never really felt like they were going to do this. 24 of 46 from three-point range. And a lot of those Heat teams during Jimmy Butler, they really worked to get those corner threes open with that splash action. When I think about the Jimmy Butler era Heat, I think about, a guy kind of setting that pin-in screen from the corner, setting up that other guy from the corner. And that was like their go-to bread and butter action for years to set up guys like PJ Tucker or Caleb Martin or Duncan Robinson or Max Strus in the corner. That's not really this team. They don't run that action basically ever. In this game, of their 24 made three-pointers, 21 of them were above the break. It was just like no frills, just dribble up and shoot the darn ball and let it go through the net kind of offense. And I do wonder what the difference is, right? Like in terms of personnel, you just said that past Heat teams wouldn't have done that. What's the difference to you? Is it just the addition of Norm Powell as another high-volume, efficient shooter in addition to Tyler Herro? To me, it's that and the fact that Bam has developed a three-point shot in a real way.
I think that's it. And I think couple that with the pace overall style of play that Miami's implemented this season, and it just leads itself to those kind of opportunities. Like you pointed out, the Bam three-pointer to start off the game. That was off a blocked shot by Bam, if I'm not mistaken, kind of igniting that transition basket. And Davion was bringing the ball up with Bam as the trailer, and he just casually walks into a three-pointer. We never saw that. That wasn't part of his repertoire. And then how many opportunities did Norm Powell get where he was just like, you know what? I think it was Tyler or Davion with one of his 12 assists. Just find Norm on a trailer, and there he is above the break, splash. And those were such critical moments throughout the game where they just broke the Clippers and any chance of them mounting any kind of comeback. So it was just a really potent display. And I think, again, based on that roster being as developed as it is and Bam developing that shot as part of his repertoire has made such a difference for this Heat team. They look so good, so dangerous, just so capable. Something that we haven't seen from them. And to do it in this way, it's 140 points. I mean, it's a ridiculous level of output for a Heat team that has struggled to even break 100 points in the past.
Yeah, before this season, right? I mean, this is not a high-volume three-point shooting team. They're 19th in three-pointers made. And that's what maybe my biggest takeaway from this game is, yeah, the Clippers defense kind of let them take a lot of these threes. But this is sort of that next level of this Heat offense. And this is what you and I have been waiting on, especially with Tyler Herro coming back. Now that he's kind of found his rhythm here, can this team finally unlock the three-point game part of this offense? Because once that happens, I'm very interested to see what this team can do offensively. Because as many points as they're putting up in these games with the pace and all these things, they're still on the outside of the top 10 in offensive rating. There's still room to grow, in other words, with this offense. And where that's going to come is beyond the three-point line, because this team is so good in the paint and getting to the rim. Once it starts opening up things from three-point range, that to me, if I'm the Heat, that's the part I want to take away from this is, hey guys, we're not going to be like the Boston Celtics necessarily from the last couple of years from 3-point. We don't want to be that, right? We want to attack the basket. We don't want to be, settling for threes all the time. But if we need to, and if they give them to us, we can do that. And then the domino effect of what that turns into, right, is if teams start respecting us from beyond the arc, then all of a sudden those lanes are going to open up again, where we've seen teams start to clog things up with their zone defenses a little bit. This is a way to break that.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. And it felt like Bam was dialed up from the mid-range too. Tyler had a couple of nice shots from the mid-range. They were able to get to the rim pretty easily. But you think 24 made three-pointers. That's over half their offense came from the three-point line. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I have to believe it's not typical for this Heat team. Even this group, not as good as they've been, I don't think over 50% of their scoring. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. A lot of credit cookies to give out. Well, not really. It's still 10. It's always 10. But there's a lot of people who deserve credit cookies for this game. Credit cookies is next. Today's episode of Locked On Heat is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly, and player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. It's Miami's 14th win of the season, which means it's time for the tastiest segment of Locked On Heat. It's time for credit cookies. David, who's getting some cookies tonight?
You said it's only 10. This might be my most difficult challenge because I feel like I have to at least give one extra cookie. And I know the rules stipulate that I cannot do so, but if there was ever a night to give out an extra cookie, this would be it, because the starting lineup was phenomenal. 5 players that are all very deserving. Those are my 5 players that are all getting credit cookies. Tonight, I've got to start off with Norm Powell and his 30-point barrage. He was incredible. Again, the game was dictated, the pace was dictated early on by Andrew Wiggins and Bam Adebayo, so they'll get the credit they deserve. But during the moments in the game when Miami was making their biggest pushes to increase their lead, it was Powell who was just piling on shot after shot after shot. Even late in the game, when it looked like the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard were mounting that comeback, Powell broke their back yet again, clearly sending a message to his former team. And he was phenomenal tonight. But a good overall game from him. I think he played some pretty stout defense as well, had a couple of assists. A really solid showing, but let's not mince words here. It's really all about his offense, so that's why he gets 3 cookies.
30 points for Norm Powell. Just a tremendous night from him, who was a little bit... Slump is too strong of a word, David, I think, but definitely not as explosive as he had been earlier in the year. Boy, did he explode all over this one. 30 points, 12 of 18 shooting, 6 of 10 from three-point range. And then I think my favorite part from Norm Powell in this game was in the fourth quarter when the Clippers started to cut into that 30-plus point lead. They got it down to like 16 points. Powell was there with, it was at the point where they cut it to 18 points. Norm Powell right there with a relief bucket, drove to the basket. He was like, you know what? I know that we're having a three-point shooting party, but we just need to run the ball. We need to run the ball to just run the clock out. Let me just drive to the basket, layup, boom. Next possession, drive to the basket, reverse layup. And I just love the simplicity of that. And Norm Powell just being aware, time, score, all those things, and just saying like, look, let me just get to the basket. Let me just make sure that all these Kawhi shots that are going in, let's just make sure I have an answer for them, whether or not they're 2s, 3s, and 1s, whatever it is. All we got to do is answer these buckets to make sure that we don't blow this thing. They were never really at risk of blowing it, even though it did feel a little sweaty there in those a couple fourth quarter minutes. But Powell with the relief buckets, that was huge. Who's next?
I've got 3 credit cookies going to Bam Adebayo as well. Like I said before, just really felt like he was taking it personally against Zubac in the first quarter. Like, I think he had 7 for error of the first few points of the game, and just continued on throughout that. As you mentioned, 5 made three-pointers, a new career high from beyond the arc for him. And he was clearly like feeling confident in his shot. I don't know that we've ever seen this version of Bam. Like even the mid-range jumper, those shots were going through net, barely staring the nylon. Like there was very little movement on those strings. And you know that Bam was having a really good night and he was feeling it pretty confidently. But I think again, a solid overall game from him as well. Played some really stout defense, did some really good things there, kind of set the pace, and it was consistent. And I think this is the best version of Bam. Like when he's feeling this good with a three-point shot, he can make this kind of a positive impact. You see the best version of Bam Adebayo, which, I think that's why he's going to be deserving of all-star consideration yet again this year.
Bam had 7 of Miami's first 14 points. Did Zoo insult his mother or something? He looked like he hated Zubac to a degree that I have not seen Bam go at a guy all season.
Level of hate,
Yeah, right. But it's even like surpassed that. I don't even know. Like it was he was like relishing blocking Zubac under the basket a couple of different times. Just the 3-point shot, the trying to body him under the rim, all these things. I love that level of aggression from Bam. Just it's that, especially early in the game when he's able to set the tone like that. What that does for the Heat's offense, I mean, we've talked about it for years, but you love to see that. And I love when Bam takes something personally. You never really know when it's going to happen, but every once in a while, Bam just gets angry at something and he just goes off. And it makes you question why you can't see it all the time. And I think that's a little unfair because I do think that we hold players to sometimes an unfair standard. But, I mean, why don't we see this Bam all the time, man? Like it's such a joy to watch him like kind of have that level of passion and energy in a game. And like I said, I thought it set the tone for everybody around him. 3 credit cookies, by the way, is his first 3 credit cookie game since November 4th. Obviously, he missed a little bit of time in between then, but it's been a while since Bam got more than 2 credit cookies, and I think he's very deserving of that. Who's next?
Tying a season high for him. So let's see if he can have a 4 credit cookie night at some point. But this is where it gets dicey for me because I think Powell and Bam are the clear favorites in terms of cookie allotment. But the rest of the starting lineup gets it as well. So I'm going to go 2 with Andrew Wiggins. I think, again, he really had some impactful moments early. Looked like he was taking his game very personally as well. We saw that he had a tremendous outing against the Pistons on Saturday, and it looks like he's continued that. The 3-point shot was confident. He looked good driving to the basket, had some really nice defensive possessions, got a couple of key blocks. I don't know what's going on between him and the Clippers, but clearly there was some sort of a rivalry or something because he looked a little bit more engaged, and even we've seen him throughout the rest of the season. So this was a great version of Wiggs as well, and he just really looked like a solid overall player. And somebody, I've seen the argument by others that Wiggs should come off the bench. This is the reason why he's not. He's just too essential to what Miami is capable. He's just too good. And on a night like tonight, I think he really showed why he deserves to be in that starting lineup, and that's why he gets 2 credit cookies.
Is this I missed this. Is this a conversation like on Heat? Who's making the argument that Wiggins should be coming off the bench?
Others in the media market, shall we say?
Oh, that's wrong. I don't know who you're talking about, but like that does make sense to me. Wiggins has been tremendous with the two-way play. I'm not going to defend his position. He's the only real small forward on the team. He's that important, and he's also got obviously the ability to play power forward in Miami's starting lineup, and that's very unique. But my favorite Wiggins series of this game was he has the strong. It's within like the first opening minutes. Again, him and Bam scored all of Miami's first 14 points. 7 for Bam, 7 for Wiggs. And my favorite series during that part of the game was Wiggins has a really strong defensive rebound, fighting Ivica Zubac again, who was just like, he's got no lunch money left, dude. Like the Heat just grabbed him by the ankles, held him upside down, and just shook him for all he's got. Like they bullied him in this game every time down the floor. But Wiggins, strong defensive rebound, kind of pushing Zubac out of the way. And then he goes down the other side, misses a shot, and then gets the offensive rebound and the putback. And it was just this level of strength that Wiggins has all the time. Like I remember when the Warriors first traded for him, and I talked to Steve Kerr about Wiggins and whether or not he would kind of play that. There was a big talking point in Golden State at the time is Wiggins going to play the Harrison Barnes role, right? Where, he usually plays the 3 and then you go to small ball with Draymond at the 5 and then you got your 3 sliding down to the 4. And he said, I think we could do that with Wiggins. His strength is really underrated. And I always found that comment really interesting. And he was right, by the way. The Warriors ended up winning a championship like a year later. And Wiggins' ability to play with that strength, and to me, that's always the Wiggins thing. That's my barometer of, is Wiggins engaged? It has nothing to do with scoring with him. It's, are you being active on the boards? When Wiggs is active on the boards, that's when you know he's taking that game up another notch, and he's very deserving of these credit cookies. So you gave him 2, which means we have 2 left.
Look, he did it in the fourth quarter as well. He did it in the fourth quarter as well. I want to say that at one point, Zubac pulled down the board, and he wrestled it right out of his hands and kind of took it personally. Like, why are you trying to take the ball from me? And he kind of looked pissed off. I think
it was like the last rebound of the game, right? That was sort of the game-sealing rebound. Yeah,
he shuffled it to Davion Mitchell, who brought it up, and then gave it back out to him, and he nailed a contested 3-pointer. He's like, that was playing with edge, which I don't think we've seen very often. So it was a great possession. As you pointed out, 2 credit cookies left, 1 each to Tyler Herro and Davion Mitchell.
Yep.
Feels too low on Tyler because he really did have a solid shooting night. Wasn't perhaps too impactful otherwise, so maybe that's why he gets just the 1 credit cookie. But a great overall game from him. Just opportunistic. What didn't have to be dominant, didn't have to carry this team because you got Norm and Bam doing the heavy lifting. But when Tyler got his opportunities, he really did make the most of them. And boy, did he have range today. Like, he was taking multiple 3-point shots from beyond Curry range. It felt like there were a couple 26, 27 footers out there that he was just nailing with confidence. So if this is the other level that Tyler's capable of reaching, I'm all for it because he really does just add a whole other dimension. One of them, as the shot clock was expiring, he was like, yeah, I've got the ball in my hand from 26 feet out. No problem. Nails it. So great overall game from Tyler. Feels undeserving. I feel guilty just giving him the 1 credit.
No, I mean, cookies are given out on a curve, David. Like, this is it. It's the cookie curve, right? And on this cookie curve, it's a 1. Some other nights that would be a 3 cookie night. Tonight, it's a 1 cookie night. That's just how it is. I love the dancing on the grave 3-pointer though that he took. That was great. The one from the logo off the offensive rebound. That was great.
Yeah. And then Davion with his 12 assists gets another credit cookie. I think he was really solid. Handles the switches very well. Picked James Harden a couple of times. Really stout defense. Opportunistic with his shooting. 4-4 from 3-point range. So just the overall Davion Mitchell experience, that he was great tonight in his complimentary role. That's all you really want. So this is, we talked about having to decide between him and Kel'el as far as who gets the starting nod.
Put a pin in that.
Oh,
there we go. 16 and 12 for Davion in this game. 16 points, 12 assists. That's, to me, the ideal Davion Mitchell stat line. That's perfect for me. The fastball, hit-ahead passes were there. But of the 4-4 from 3-point range, 2 of them, I think, were in that second quarter also. Again, just stepping up confidently against a sagging Clippers deep. Just that relentlessness that if you're going to play off of me, I'm not a volume shooter, I'm not a volume scorer, but if you're going to play off of me like this, I'm going to, no hesitation, I'm pulling the trigger on this thing. And when he does that and he's so confident, it's the Davion Mitchell that we all fell in love with. That kind of it reminds me of that Davion Mitchell that spurred that big run in overtime in Atlanta in the play-in tournament last year, where it's just like, this guy's confidence, he's just got these reserves of confidence that he's just like stockpiling up. He doesn't shoot a lot, but he's got that confidence in his shot. There's no question about it. And it's really cool to watch him when he kind of hits that zone every once in a while. I think it's good. I think those are the right cookies to a lot. People are still demanding that I release the CC files, the credit cookie files. It's not happening. You can't make me do it. I don't know that they exist, but maybe one day they will. We're going to get to our listener questions here in a second. Things are not going well for the Clippers. Could the Heat poach a player off their roster before the trade deadline? We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On Heat is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, it's fast, it's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Prize Picks has added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute. The app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats, fantasy scores, field goal attempts, attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. The early payout feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. And the new stacks feature lets you choose the same player up to 3 times in one lineup, like more on a quarterback's passing yards, touchdowns, and rushing yards. Deposits and withdrawals are quick and easy, which keeps everything flowing. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Let's jump into some questions submitted by our listeners to the Locked On Heat text line. You can submit questions via the link in the show notes. You can also text them 786-998-7029. This question comes from Billy, who writes in, I saw somewhere today while I was scrolling that the Clippers are looking to buy out or trade Brook Lopez to duck the repeater tax. Should the Heat look to add him on the buyout? I also saw this, David, somewhere on my feed at some point. I didn't do the work on the numbers on this, honestly. A buyout wouldn't necessarily get the Clippers under the tax. Brook Lopez would have to give up quite a bit of money for that to happen. Could they trade him, buy out somebody else, trade him to somebody that's not guaranteed, and maybe work it that way? I don't know. Maybe they buy him out and buy somebody else out and make some multiple moves to try to get under the tax. Point being, if Brook Lopez were available, should the Heat look to add him on a buyout? I don't see why not, right? Brook Lopez isn't what he used to be, but he's still a pretty good player. And if he's your third center behind Bam and Kel'el Ware, you could do a lot worse. To me, is Brook Lopez willing to take a smaller version of the mid-level exception when Miami is able to sign somebody to a minimum in the middle of December? That's the part I don't know, because I would imagine if Brook Lopez did get bought out, he'd have suitors for a little bit more money than that.
I don't know. Should the Heat be interested? Absolutely. I don't know that Brook is interested. I think he wants to stay closer to LA with his family, with Disneyland being there. I don't think that it's an
Disney
option
World.
for him. Yeah,
3.5 hours from Miami.
He's got the huge property in Orlando, which is why Robin Lopez signed there not that long ago, but that didn't work out too well for him. So I don't know. I think if he's got his championship, he's got his all-stars, he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. So at this point, what is he really competing for? He was a believer in the Clipper system as much as I was, and it hasn't worked out for him either. So I don't know. As far as whether or not the Heat would look to sign, I think there's respect there. They saw him up close. They saw him be as dangerous as he was with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they've always appreciated what he's capable of as a competitor, as a guy who can stretch the floor, as an intelligent player who makes smart decisions, and did play high-level defense. It wasn't that long ago that he was getting Defensive Player of the Year consideration as a shot blocker and a guy who's just a perfect complementary defender next to Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think there would be interest, but I just don't know that it's mutual from Brook's part. I think if anything, he might want to join the Lakers next door, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that to me makes a little bit more sense, right? That's a team that's in more need of a big than Miami. To your point, what is Brook Lopez playing for at this point? Money and playing time. It's what every basketball player wants at the end of the day. I don't know that he'd be getting the most amount of money from Miami, and I don't know that he'd be getting the most amount of playing time in Miami either. The Heat should call him, absolutely, but I'm just not sure that it's the right fit. But you never know.
Anybody else on the roster that you'd want other than Brook Lopez?
That's a good question. No, not really.
CP3?
No,
me neither.
CP3 is not leaving the Clippers. He's retiring there. None of the guys that would really be like, I've always been a Chris Dunn fan, but with Davion and Drew Smith, I don't really need them. Yeah. Derrick Jones Jr. in this offense would be kind of interesting, but he's injured. He's not injured for the season, but maybe there's something there. I don't know. What about you?
No, I mean, Kawhi had those moments in tonight's game, and it kind of reminds you.
I don't want Kawhi on my team.
I don't either. And yet, he's still a damn good player.
He is. When he is on, he's one of the best 5 players in basketball. He almost single-handedly brought the Clippers back from the dead in this game. And
on
he
both sides,
deserves a ton of,
defensively and offensively. Yeah.
Yep. He deserves a ton of credit for not giving up when apparently the rest of the Clippers roster gave up.
Yeah.
But man, we just did this with Jimmy Butler, a guy who's on and off available. You kind of question some of his leadership skills. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he's going to slow down the offense. I'm having too much fun with this offense. I don't think Kawhi turns the Heat into a title team. You're just sort of, again, you're waiting for that, oh my God, that carrot. Maybe he could just sort of become Kobe Bryant in the playoffs again, and then we're running it. But he hasn't done that since 2019. So I'm done. I don't want to do it with Kawhi. We just got done with this with Jimmy Butler. I'm happy that we're kind of moving in a new direction. Malachi writes in, Bam headed to the 3-point contest? He's joking, but it made me look it up. Only 8 centers have made more 3-pointers this year than Bam. Miles Turner, Naz Reid, Onyeka Okongwu, Nikola Jokic, Nikola Vucevic, Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Wow.
And Bam's doing it as efficiently, if not more efficiently, than most of the guys on that list. Pretty great. That's a pretty good list.
It is. Also amazing to think that 9 centers, including Bam, are shooting threes at such a high level. Like Okongwu, who I think is the biggest surprise of those. The rest have had a history of it. They have their seasons, but Okongwu has really come on for the Hawks as far as his shooting is concerned. But yeah, I think it's a legitimate part of Bam's repertoire now, and you have to respect it. It's also coming within the flow of the offense. He's either getting those shots from the corner or trailer above the break, and that being the case, it's a fun added weapon to throw out there every once in a while. I don't think he's gone to the point where he's too on it or too comfortable with it, and it's just when he'll let it fly, and that's the way it should be. So good for him.
Let's go quickly through these last couple. Jonah writes in, is Jaime still kind of injured or just getting healthy? He went 2 for 10 in this game, 20 in his 20 minutes. It does still feel like he was questionable this morning, and then he was made available before tonight. It feels like maybe that groin was still sort of bothering him in this one. Cody writes in, Bam and Ware didn't have minutes together tonight. Is this strict stagger the new norm until Nikola Jovic gets out of a funk without another big on the roster? Relatedly, Malachi writes in, I believe Davion has proven he belongs in the starting lineup and the closing lineup, but I still wish Bam and Ware would get more opportunities in the middle of the game to play together. Another question sort of related to this and kind of what we were talking about earlier, David. Ayad writes in, Bam in his post-game comments said that Davion Mitchell is the head of the snake and that he leads the way and shows us how the team thinks of him. Does this starting 5 feel like the starting 5 we'll see for the season, health permitting? So a couple of questions about Bam and Ware playing together. A lot of people talking about Davion being proven that he belongs in that starting 5. David, you were kind of getting to this point earlier.
Yeah, no, I think he stays in the starting 5. I think, again, as we talked about in our previous episode, Spo recognizes the flexibility option that's available to him now with the depth in this roster, and he knows that he can make changes if necessary, but it's working so far. So why not, as Spo has always pointed out, why not lean into your strengths? And Davion has certainly been one of those. So I think it's going to be this consistent for a while. As far as Bam and Ware playing together, I don't know. It seems like waiting for Nico to get off to Schneid is fool's gold. I just don't see it happening. Like he barely got any playing time. I think he was brought in on garbage time late in the fourth quarter, and that almost felt like insulting for a guy who started playoff games not that long ago, and yet here he is, fresh up in a contract extension, and he's getting like less than a minute of playing time at the end of the fourth quarter in a blowout win. So not a great look, and he's clearly in the doghouse, and I don't think he's doing himself any favors because, again, not to play sports psychologist here, but the body language isn't great, and it does seem like he's just not in a comfortable spot right now, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. And we've seen this in the past. Like, I remember years ago talking to Kel'el about how difficult it was for him to be a starter one day and then not get playing time for weeks, and that's just how it works out with Erik Spoelstra sometimes. You have to do the work off the court in practice, not during games. It has to be something he shows behind the scenes.
And to the point, if he's not available as that sort of third big, right? Fontecchio is getting the minutes over him and you're not playing him at center, then it makes it even more necessary to stagger Bam and Ware. Back to the Davion Mitchell point and whatever the starting lineup is, we've talked a lot about, hey, maybe it will be matchup dependent. I looked at the schedule coming up. I don't know when the next matchup is that's going to dictate the Heat have to start two bigs, have to start Bam and Ware together. Dallas on the road, Dallas on Wednesday, they've been playing Anthony Davis at the 5 while Gafford's been hurt. So I don't think that you need to play big against the Dallas Mavericks. Orlando only plays one center. I don't think you need to play big against them. The Sacramento Kings stink, number one, so you're not matching up against them. And they only play one quote-unquote center per game. And they're starting Drew Eubanks right now with Sabonis hurt. Then it's Orlando again, and then it's Brooklyn, then it's Boston, then it's New York, and then it's Toronto. Not until potentially Atlanta, if they have Porzingis and Okongwu healthy, are you really looking at maybe starting two bigs? But even then, maybe not, because they still tend to play small with just the one center. Then it's Indiana, and then it's Denver. Like we've seen, and so maybe Denver on December 29th, that might be the next time you actually might think about playing big. Even if Aaron Gordon is back, do you want to have the two bigs just to kind of go head-to-head with Nikola Jokic? But we've also seen Erik Spoelstra say, you know what, I'm just going to let Bam defend Jokic one-on-one and sort of live with the results. We saw that earlier this season. So it's going to be a while until, like, I think Minnesota, January 3rd, you have to go that far in the future where you're like, yep, probably definitely have to play two centers in that one. Even that might be a health permitting type of situation too. So for now, I do think Davion Mitchell is the guy in the starting 5 as long as everybody is healthy. That'll do it for us today. This has been Locked On Heat, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.